WATD presents John Paul, the Car Doctor. All things automotive. Have questions? Call 781-837-4900. Now, here's John Paul, the Car Doctor.
You know, one of these days we'll get in the new studio and we'll have to learn all this stuff all over again. So, you know, that even makes it more fun. Hey, with us on the phone is Sean Nguyen. He is a technical scientist from Pennzoil, an automotive lubrication specialist. Sean, good morning and welcome to back to the Car Doctor program.
Hello.
Hello. It sounds like you're in the lab right now.
In a sense, I am in a confined space.
Yeah.
On a Sunday morning.
Well, there you go. Well, it is, it is Memorial Day weekend. People are starting to travel. It's the unofficial start of summer. And it's really time to think about people maintaining your car. And I don't think anyone could argue that oil is the lifeblood of your car's engine, correct?
Absolutely. There's no other way to maintain that car without the oil.
And oil does a lot. People think about oil as lubrication, but oil also helps cool the engine, right?
Absolutely. You know, everybody think of oil, and they think it's a commodity. They think that motor oil is just that brown stuff, but it does more than that, right? And no, oil is not the same. Yes, it is. It is there to lubricate everything from your engine to your pistons, and of course you have oils that covers the underneath side of the pistons and the other part of the engine. So it's crucial that engine oil be of good quality to help to also pull heat away from the engine, especially with summer heat coming around. So it supplements your coolant system to help work together in tandem. To maintain that temperature so that the engine does not overheat and perform as the way it's designed to do.
And even just a quart low of oil can cause the engine temperature to go up, right?
Absolutely. When you're not giving enough oil in the engine, there's a couple of issues. One, you do not have enough oil. That's true, because the oil needs some time to come down to the oil pan to cool and take that heat away for a little bit. At the same time, a quart low can also cause issues of aeration, where the oil is not able to remove and release the air that's entrapped in the engine and other contaminants in the system. So now you have less to do more. And so that will then degrade and actually harm that oil a lot quicker. So making sure you have the proper fluid level in all your liquids in the car is crucial to maintain optimal performance.
And when it comes to oil change intervals, if you talk to 20 people, it seems like you get 20 different answers on when you should change your oil. Do you change it? I remember when I first started out as a mechanic many, many, many years ago, 2,000 or 3,000 mile oil changes were pretty common. Now we're seeing 10,000 and even more miles on oil changes. Is there a rule of thumb, or isn't there really one?
Unfortunately, there is no longer a rule of thumb, right? It's like our manufacturer, our engine manufacturers have changed their specifications dramatically over the years. One is the change in the type of oil that we grew up with, right? You talk about 3,000-mile oil drain. Well, most of them were a conventional type oil, so they're not designed to last as well or as long as the current type of technology that's being used is being formulated in motor oil nowadays. At the same time, engine manufacturer, you talked about oil capacity. You have engines that only have maybe 3.5, 4 quarts to engine that may still have 8 quarts. And having those volumes help to increase basically the reserve that's in the oil to help extend those drains. And so it's recommended that you follow your manufacturer. I don't care if it's a Japanese to a European vehicle. Follow the drain interval, whatever the recommendation is. And I recommend using the synthetics. It will help to improve performance, give you better fuel economy, keep that engine longer, and help to extend the life of the engine so that you can maintain that car a lot longer, which is cheaper than trying to buy a new car nowadays.
Absolutely. And the thing about oil is, I guess all oil sort of starts off the same. You know, it's the same sort of base product, but it's the additives that really make the oil different from one type to another, even within your lineup of oil, right?
I would beg to differ nowadays.
Okay, all right.
There are different grades. I use an analogy that maybe your listeners might be able to relate to. I use the way of making soup, and I use that everywhere I go. And your soup has to start with a good base stock. It could be a water and bouillons, or a canned chicken stock, or you use good water and live yard chickens and so forth. And that broth, that base oil, or that base broth, is the starting material. And there's grades of different quality, and they give you the different performance, right? Because the flavor of the broth is better. Then you can focus on the additives. We actually have a study where we use the same additive package on a conventional oil with a synthetic oil, and you see significant difference in the oil pan after 100,000 miles. There is huge difference in performance with the base oils as well as additive. And if you are able to combine the two, you can optimize your system and make that perfect, whatever, chicken noodle soup or gumbo, depending on how you want to design your oil. And that's where we see significant difference and change in the technology of the way we make motor oils nowadays, especially with Pennzoil's introduction of our premium products made by GTL, which is a synthetic base oil made by natural gas. And then that is applied in all of our premium Pennzoil Platinum product, the Platinum High Mileage products, and the Ultra Platinum, as well as the European Platinum products. And the rest, our premium product, our flagship, which can assure the consumer a best protection that they can afford to buy.
And you have multiple levels of synthetic now, right? I mean, I always used to go and get the, Pennzoil Platinum, but now there's a Pennzoil Platinum Ultra, I think it is?
Absolutely, and it's designed for the high performance vehicles. The Corvettes, the Ferraris, the high performance M-Class BMWs, and so forth. So those ultras are made for those high performance engines that require a little bit better performance on it. The additive package is boosted for better cleanliness and wear protection. But the consumer, if they can go find a Platinum, they know that it's made with our best formulation that we have. And there, like you say, there is different grades of base oils. There is synthetic, the same way you buy, let's go back to that analogy again. If you buy a can of chicken broth versus a generic one from the grocery store, there is subtle differences in the flavor of that versus the one that you made from home when you use live chicken. So those quality of base stocks then helps to supplement. Then for us, we then can focus on putting the right ingredients, the right premium additives to boost the performance or to level it out the way that we designed it to be.
As a technical scientist and oil expert, how do you feel about
oil nerd to you?
Yeah, all right, oil nerd. How do you feel about additives being added to oil after the fact? People that are putting in, they go to the auto parts store and they see a product on the shelf and they do their oil change, but they add this additional product. Can't that be a little bit dangerous because that product might not mix well with the additives in the oil?
The might is the answer, right? And the auto parts stores will hate me for this, but true. It goes back to that chicken soup analogy again. You make your perfect soup. You don't want somebody to come in and throw Tabasco on it or throw another ingredient into it because it changes the balance of that soup. we have balanced our formulation because it is crucial that the anti-wear component comes in at the right time to protect it from wear. It is crucial that the detergents come in to help keep that engine clean as a little bit of sludge or a little bit of varnish builds up. It is crucial that the viscosity modifier helps to regulate the temperature of the engine, of the oil. So that balance is that balance in flavor that we taste in soup, the same way that we see in motor oil. You see, so throwing different ingredients in it may, like you say, might change the balance and cause issues along the way.
And one of the questions that I get a lot of oil questions, but one of the questions I get periodically is, I go to the auto parts store, I look at, and we'll say Pennzoil Platinum, and it's, and I'm making up a number, $30 for a 5-quart container of it. And then I go to the auto parts store, and that same 5-quart container is $35 or $36, and somebody will say, oh, it's different oil made for the big box store than it is for the auto parts store. Is there any truth in that?
For us, no. And typically it should not. I think the API and regulators have said that if we buy the same product, it could be in a Costco or Sam's, it could be a 55-gallon drum or a 1-quart bottle. It should be the same, and it comes off the same assembly line, is just bottled differently.
Yeah, I think that's something. And the other one is, and I just answered this question this morning for someone, was they were going to go change the oil in their outboard engine of their boat, and they were shocked at the price of marine oil, and they wanted to know if they could use conventional oil. And I'm about ready to do the same thing with the little outboard motor I have. And I noticed when I went to the store, Pennzoil actually has a marine oil. So there is a difference between the oil you use in your car and the oil you use in a boat, right?
In a sense, yes, but it varies, right? Certain boat engines are basically, on some of the outboards, they're basically just a car engine with a propeller on it, right? And in those issues, they will have a regular API recommendation for those engines. But in a lot of the applications, you have issues of water, right? You're in a vehicle that drives on water. So there is issues of water protection, of water separation, and the oil has to be able to handle that. In our typical vehicle, we don't want to be in the water, right?
We hope
so,
not.
Yes, we hope not. Down here in Texas, we get a lot of that just recently. But that's the challenge. So depending on the specifications of the engine on the outboard, we recommend looking at that. And if it calls for an API product, then you can use engine oil. But if it calls for an outboard-specific motor oil, we recommend using our outboard products.
And how do you feel about, and I know vehicle manufacturers have kind of a mixed opinion on it, how do you feel about oil flushing out an engine?
I think if you change your oil regularly and you use premium synthetic products and you change it like clockwork, you shouldn't have any worry about flushing. You shouldn't need to because the oil is there to grab the dirt, to grab the varnish, to hold it in suspension, and anything large would be trapped by the filter, right? And it's designed to hold it in suspension, not settle down like at the bottom of the oil pan. So when you drain it, all of it comes out, and then you put in new oil. Now, there are occasions when you may, let's say, buy a used car, and you do not know how it was maintained, and you put in really good synthetic oil in there, like our Pennzoil Platinum, it may dirty up a lot faster because it's doing its job. It's cleaning up whatever's left in that engine. And that's, you can use it regularly over time. You see that your engine oil will maintain it the way it's designed, and it will get dirty because that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to clean up all the junk that builds up in an engine.
And how do you feel about, you're somebody who changes their own oil, and you go to your garage shelf where you keep everything, and your car uses 10W30 oil, normal kind of regular 10W30, and you have 3 quarts of Pennzoil and 2 quarts of Quaker State. How do you feel about mixing those together? Should you always try to stay with one brand?
I would recommend so, right? because of the way they're formulated, right? If you buy one person's chicken noodle soup again and you mix it with another person's chicken noodle soup, it won't be the flavor that you want. However, if you are of the same make, let's say you have a Pennzoil conventional and then you have a Pennzoil Platinum product, 1030, both of them, you can mix because they're from the same family. So the ingredients there are very similar. There are significant difference in concentration, but then when they're from the same family, then you can be assured that there's no compatibility challenges for you to mix those two oils. But you know what? In a tight spot and you're low on oil, you're 3 quarts low, and you need to add oil to keep that engine from burning up. Oil is better than no oil, and then as soon as you get a chance, change it out and then put fresh oil in there.
Yeah, it makes sense. And do the additives ever separate from the oil? Do you need to shake a quart of oil before you put it in your car?
We recommend it the same way we shake our bottle of milk, our bottle of creamer, food that's liquid. We always shake it because in the manufacturing process, there may be additional additive that we put in there that hasn't completely dissolved, and that happens with everything that is manufactured in production line. And I think we normally, in some sense, feel that it's safer to do. It's fine to do that. The formulation is perfect the way it is, but if you do see a little bit of sediment, shake it up, because those sediments are maybe undissolved additives, and they should be fine to go into your vehicle. Okay, and if there's anything large that's undissolved, your filter would trap that, and you should be fine.
And how about oil age? I was at an estate sale a couple weeks ago, and tucked out in the back room of this garage, there was about 10 quarts of oil that you needed an oil spout to punch a hole through the top of the can, and there was a guy there, and he goes, "Oh, this is great. I want to use this for my tractor or something like that." And I'm like, I don't know that oil eventually does run the end of its life, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's mainly the additives that degrade, right? The additives will degrade over time. And if you have a quart that's still paper, carton quart, save it. That's a collector item. Don't use it. Myself, I have a couple on my shelf, but I wouldn't use it because the additive has degraded to a point that I don't recommend using. We recommend using oils that is 4 years or shorter from the manufacture date. Every bottle that is made nowadays have a manufacture date. So keep that in mind. Rotate your stock, and if you open it up, make sure it's sealed and not in a closed environment, in a protected environment, and not contaminated by outside influences. And you should be able to use that within that 4-year lifetime.
But after 4 years, or if you do find a paper quart container with metal tops, sell it on eBay or something, right?
Right. If not, you can send it to me. I'll give you my address.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. So again, oil is the life's blood of the engine. It's an important thing to do. But today's cars, and I don't care how good they are, especially the ones that have these 10,000-mile oil change intervals, it's still an obligation of the owner to open the hood and check the oil level periodically, because even the best engine will use oil in between oil changes, right?
Absolutely. Certain engines are designed to consume, depending on the manufacturer, they're just the way it is made, right? If there's anybody out there using a rotary engine, they know it. That thing is designed kind of like a two-stroke engine. It sucks up oil. So yes, every time, I would say every 2 or 3 gas fill-up, which is every 4 to 800 miles, pop the hood, check your fluids to make sure that all your fluids are there, because you might need to make sure your washer's full, your brake fluid's full, all those are full, including your oil level. It's very crucial to maintain that, because you don't want your car to break down, especially with the summer heat coming around the bend, family vacation, that spring maintenance, the same way we do in the winterization of our vehicle. It's a good thing to do. Check your pressures, check your tire pressures, all that, so that you don't have to break down in the middle of the summer heat, which is no fun, especially if you have kids in the car.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to do that, and you don't want to break down and have what could mount to a $5,000 to $10,000 repair because you just didn't open up the hood and check the oil periodically. So there is that obligation as a vehicle owner. You need to maintain it. And the idea of going to the local gas station and having somebody come out and pump your gas for you and check your oil just doesn't happen anymore. So it is important to make sure you check it yourself and make sure it's full and change it when the manufacturer tells you to.
I agree. Yes, we don't have the full-service gas stations anymore. And for those who are nervous about what's underneath the hood, that's why we got YouTube and we got the Car Doctor now to help us to understand what to check in our vehicle. If you search for it on YouTube about how to check your car, you'll find it. Somebody will share that with you. They teach you everything from changing a lug bolt to taking out your batteries. That's what the Internet's for. That's to help you. And hopefully give you a little bit of confidence in how to check and maintain your vehicle.
It sounds good. And if people want to learn more about Pennzoil and Pennzoil oils, which Pennzoil is part of a bigger company too, right? It's not just Pennzoil.
Yes, we are a bigger company. We are part of under Shell. And in the U.S., engine oils or car engine oils is licensed under the Pennzoil name, and the rest of the world is licensed under the name of Helix. And we also have a sister brand, which is Quaker State that you mentioned. So both of these are automotive engine oil. We also have our heavy-duty engine oil, which is Shell Rotella. The best heavy-duty engine oil, I think, in North America and in the world, the way that we designed it for the past 75 years. So those are our three lubricant brands that we have in North America.
Is Shell Rotella the truck oil? Is that something you could use in an old car that doesn't get driven very often, that maybe needs that? Maybe it hasn't been driven at all. Maybe you're just changing the oil for the first time in several years. Is the Shell Rotella oil something you could use in that to, maybe have a little bit of extra protection to get that engine going?
Absolutely. Shell Rotella is also API rated, so it's made for heavy-duty diesel engine oils as well as certain older engine oil specifications, and it's perfectly great for a lot of the classic vehicle with flat-tapped cams. We work heavily with Hagerty and some of our rebuilders in recommending and building it to the oil to protect those older classic type vehicles and engines. And so I would recommend that all day long for those vehicles and those used cars and classic car enthusiasts.
Well, that's good, because I just made that recommendation to someone, and I just wanted to make sure I was right about it. So thank you for that. Hey, Sean, I want to thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your Memorial Day weekend and joining us on the Car Doctor radio program here on 95.9 WATD.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you again next time.
All right. Take care, Sean. Bye-bye. We need to take a break,
Bye-bye.
Pay some bills. My name's John Paul. This is the Car Doctor program. If you would like to join us and talk about oil or anything that's on your mind on this Memorial Day weekend, we are live, so you can join us at 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. We'll be right back.
Start your Sunday off right with brunch at the Old Hitching Post in Hanson. The Old Hitching Post offers a full buffet brunch every Sunday from 10 to 1. Fill up on all your favorites like eggs and bacon, sausage, home fries, French toast casserole, mac and cheese, homemade hash, fresh seafood, rice, veggies, fresh fruit, quiche, yogurt parfaits, pastries, ham, omelets, eggs Benedict, and more. The Old Hitching Post Sunday brunch from 10 to 1 at 48 Spring Street, Route 58 in Hanson. Online at oldhp.com. That's OLDEHP.com.
AAA is with you at every moment in your life. They have 24/7 roadside assistance, which covers you in any car you're driving or riding in, even a rental or your friend's wheels. They have great member rates on home and auto insurance, savings on travel, hotels, and rental cars, and discounts on hundreds of your favorite brands. You're covered on and off the road. Learn more at aaa.com/join.
You let that mountain reach high. You let that river run wide. Hi, this is Jeff Nealon.
And this is Joe Clapp.
And I'm Stephen Davis.
We're Humble Roots. Tune into Twilight Showcase Radio.
Hosted by Sandy Stride and Keith James.
On 95.9 WATD and 95.9WATD.com.
And of course, visit twilightshowcase.org.
Twilight Showcase, tonight from 8 to 10 on 95.9 WATD. Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. If you would like to join us, 781-837-4900 is how you get through and talk to us and see what's on your mind about your cars. Everything okay there, Jesse? You seem like we having some problems.
No, we're good. Does it sound weird again?
Right. No, it sounds fine. Sounds fine. That's all. Just checking in, making sure everything's good at your end. I will be heading back north in about a week or so, so I may even make a studio appearance when the new studio's done. I know you're thrilled and excited by that. So.
I am, yeah. I mean, you promised a live appearance last time, and you left me alone to cry on the bathroom floor in the dark again.
Yeah, well, you do that often, don't you?
Yeah, it's a ritual. Yeah, I do it most days.
Yeah. Hey, if you'd like to join us, 781-837-4900. We may be a little bit later in the program giving away another set of car appearance products by the Bling Sauce people. They promised that we could give away 2 sets. We gave away 1 set to Marty in Plymouth last week, and I believe the person from Bling Sauce was in contact with them, and they were going to ship it out directly to Marty, so good for that. And we might be doing it again. And then they said, because apparently we were nice to them, that we would give away a third set of Bling Sauce to over Father's Day weekend. So we'll do that too. So nice of them to offer to do that. So liked hearing that. Couple of questions that came in. One of them was about the oil change intervals and the idea of using, a car that has sat for a period of time, doesn't get used very often. And I actually did recommend the Shell Rotella oil, the truck oil, for I think it was a 62 Pontiac or something like that was pretty much all original and hadn't got used a whole heck of a lot. And I'm glad that the oil expert or oil nerd, as he referred to himself, said it was a good idea to do that. The Shell Rotella oil is a good choice for that. I have seen some of those car rescue shows on YouTube where they also recommend it. And sometimes you have to be a little bit cautious for some of that stuff because you see some of the recommendations, and even though they maybe sometimes are a little tongue-in-cheek, you kind of wonder, is that an endorsed recommendation? Is that something they get paid to say, I only use Fram oil filters, or I only use this, or, I'm glad to exchange this for that. And you have to wonder. There was a company that I like a lot. They do a touch-up paint. It's called AutomotiveTouchUp.com. That's where you buy it. And you can buy spray cans. You can buy, nail polish size bottles, spray cans of factory paint that is, what's nice is the factory color. And they can sell you sort of the primer, the paint, the clear coat. In fact, we're going to try to get Paul Fernandez, who's the general manager of Automotive Touch-Up, on the program over the next few weeks, just to see what's going on with the company. It's just a good product, and the paint matches, which is nice. And you can buy gallons of the paint if you want to, if you're painting a whole car. And what's nice is it is the factory color. So if you went out and you painted your, 67 MG Viper red, and then you got a scratch on it, and you're like, oh, where am I going to get? You can go to Automotive Touch-Up and get, that Viper red color by the color code, and chances are it's in a spray can, it's going to match the color, which is kind of nice. So the idea that, there's these products that work, but the company or their PR person said to me, we want to try to help the company out and do some work. And I said, YouTube is, one of the ways to do it. And some of these YouTube car channel folks maybe can help endorse your product. And they came back to me with one person, and she has a YouTube channel, and they charge $5,000 to do a simple YouTube presentation about the particular product. So $5,000 to do that. And for a small company, probably like Bling Sauce or probably like Automotive Touch-Up, $5,000 could be a serious hit to their bottom line and their advertising budget.
It's a lot of money. How many subscribers does this YouTube channel have?
I don't know. Probably under 1 million, but close to that.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna get those subscriber counts up there. So I'm in the wrong business here.
I know it is. I was sort of shocked. I was thinking, maybe they get a little bit of money, or maybe they're happy to, endorse a quality product. Like, I mean, this Bling Sauce product. I like it. I use it. I used it before I heard about it for cars because I use it, on this little boat that I have that gets saltwater spray marks all over it. It's one of the products that washes all the salt off. And is it something that, could vinegar and water and soap and something else maybe do the same thing? But I know this is an environmentally friendly product and it works. So, then I heard they come out with a car product, and that's why we had Patrick Jones, the CEO of the company, on, because I tried it and I liked it. And I said, people ought to learn about this sort of stuff. They didn't send me $5,000, but then again, I don't have 1 million subscribers. So, but yeah,
we'll get you there eventually.
Eventually, yeah. Speaking of which, you were away last week, and were you out doing spooky stuff for your podcast?
Yes, kind of. I mean, it wasn't like an investigation thing, but we had there is a Paracon, so like a convention every year down in Pennsylvania at Pennhurst Asylum, and
of course.
It's a big one, yeah. It's like probably the second biggest throughout the country. There's a bigger one, I think, in Ohio every year at the same exact time, so we usually get a pick. But it was good. It was a good turnout. It was rainy, but there was still thousands and thousands of people there, so it was cool. It was
so this is like the spooky idea of Comic-Con?
Pretty much, yeah. So it's like the paranormal field and like horror movie field. They had a few actors like people that played like Michael Myers and Pinhead and, stuff from different horror movies. So they had some actors there, and then they also had a bunch of, ghost hunting shows, and like just the celebrities from those were there. And then the rest of it was all just booths with like merchandise and little crafts and things that they sell. So it was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
So do you have a booth?
We did, actually, yeah. And this year we had my brother's wife, Kate, came out, and she set up our booth for us. Because when it's just the three of us guys, we're like, oh, here's some stuff, and we just laid it on the table because we're not artsy, but she's very good at this stuff. And so she set up our booth, and it looked absolutely amazing. So, sold some shirts and some shot glasses and stickers and stuff, and met a lot of people. It was actually a really good event.
So do you think, to get like some celebrity from a horror movie, say that when I want to find out about paranormal, I listen to Hometown Ghost Stories, you think that would cost like $5,000 to get someone to say that?
That'd be pretty cool. I was thinking about it on the other side. I'm like, damn, we got to get our subscribers up so we can start charging people for that kind of stuff. We get not 1 million, but we're getting up there.
Well, so Hometown Ghost Stories is where it's at if you want to find out about that sort of stuff. And are you going to do a podcast about the event?
No, I mean we mentioned it, but we didn't like do any kind of investigating of that place. The place is insane, with lack of a better term. That's not a good term
because
to use
it's
for it.
because it's an insane asylum.
That's what they call it, but it was really a hospital. That's what it really was. We did an episode on it last year when we went and visited and kind of explored around a bit. Got ourselves kicked out because you're not supposed to do that kind of stuff. The whole place is crumbling, but it's massive. It's like it's not one building. It's like 20 buildings and like a college campus basically. But it's got a pretty dark and twisted history. Very cool spot.
Well, I think any of those abandoned buildings, sort of, where somebody, and I don't know whether they truly break into the buildings, but as they wander through these, abandoned hospitals or mansions or shopping malls or whatever the case is, those are weirdly interesting to me.
I love the abandoned building videos, and most people that enter those places are not doing so with permission. With a place like that, it is so heavily guarded by staff and security cameras and everything. You're going to get booted the second you try to stray off the path. And I can't fault them for kicking people out. The place is falling apart, so it's dangerous. You can't go into a building that's falling apart when, they could be responsible if you fall through a floor, if something falls on you from the roof or whatever. So never mind it being quote-unquote haunted, it's also in very rough shape, but very cool looking.
Yeah, years ago I was in Daytona, and the hotel I was staying in was not too far away from a big hotel that was damaged by hurricanes. And it looked like at one point they were going to try to fix it. But being that naturally curious person, I'm walking by and I'm like, I wonder if I can walk in and look around. And sure enough, somebody had broken a window or door or something. And I'm like, go look around inside. And, I walked up to the front desk and you could see the plans all laid out, like somebody was going to do something and it must have fallen apart with the economy changes or whatever the case was. So I kept walking a little bit, and I'm like, well, I'll try to get out the back towards where the beach is because the place was right on the beach. And I got to the point where I saw a puddle of blood and heard noises.
Oh, no.
And decided it was time to turn around.
Yeah, that's concerning.
Yeah. So, so I'm not sure exactly what was going on in there at some point, but it was not a place where I thought it was a good place to hang out. So,
still cool to explore.
But I still did like looking around, and the idea that there's a half-empty can of Coke sitting on the counter next to the plans, next to something else, and somebody must have just said, nope, this isn't going to work, and walked away.
Yeah, you have to wonder with a situation like that, especially when it's a hurricane, if like the foundation is jeopardized, where the structural integrity of the building is in jeopardy. Then it's like,
there was a big giant crack in the side of the building.
Yeah, there's got to be a point where it's not worth saving. It's worth it just to knock it down and rebuild.
Yeah, exactly. Well, enough of this. So, Hometown Ghost Stories, if you want to go check it out, find out more spooky stuff, check out Jesse and his brother and partner, and check out and see what's going on.
Appreciate that.
All right, sure. Hey, so somebody wrote to me and said, my wife has a 2013 Lincoln MKZ Turbo, not that it makes a difference, with 140,000 miles on it. It developed a gas leak that caused a puddle of gas to appear under the gas tank when she started it after a fill-up. After replacing a fuel line, that only worked for a short term, our repair garage decided to replace the Lincoln MKZ fuel tank and install the following: Delphi fuel pump and sender. We also replaced the fuel filler neck, fuel lines, vapor lines, fuel pump seal, and locking rings. It was extremely expensive, but the gas stopped leaking. However, the gas gauge no longer functions properly. As soon as the gauge reaches around the halfway mark, the low gas message comes on saying, I can only travel 7 miles before I run out of gas. But I still have roughly 5 gallons of gas left in the tank. My garage has not been able to diagnose the problem. We would appreciate your opinion on what's causing this. A local Lincoln dealer thinks that the problem may lie with the use of aftermarket parts, but wants me to bring it in so they can analyze the problem at a considerable additional expense. What's your thoughts? I think the shop that did the work owes you some time here. There was a time when fuel pump senders were pretty simple. It was power, ground, fuel pump float went up and down, sent a signal to the gauge. That's all there was. Wasn't much more than that. But even in this 11-year-old car, it's pretty complicated. The fuel gauge is virtual. It's part of the instrument panel cluster. It sends reference voltage to the fuel level sender. As the float level changes, the float actuates the variable resistor on the fuel level sensor, no different than the old ones did, raising and lowering the fuel level signal voltage. The instrument panel monitors the changes in voltage and commands the fuel gauge with the corresponding movement of the pointer. Kind of the same thing it always did, but the instrument panel uses 4 different operating modes. One mode is called recovery. This mode is incorporated into the strategy. After a fuel fill-up, the time for the fuel gauge to move to empty to full ranges from 2 seconds to 40 minutes, depending on the operating mode of the fuel gauge is in. With this level of complexity, it's impossible to really guess at what could be. So it could be an incorrect signal from the aftermarket sensor. That's possible. Poor electrical connection, more possible, I think. Or some poor ground somewhere in the circuit. The idea that it's sending a different signal to the gauge that says it's out of gas, even though the gauge shows it's half full, to me says probably some incompatibility with the sensor, with the sender itself. Although you were using a good product, Delphi's a good product. So, but I think the person that did the work, even though they probably don't want to hear it, owes you a car that doesn't just not leak gas anymore, but owes you a car where the gauges work the way they're supposed to because you spent all that money in to get it fixed. So that's what I think. Here's an old car question. I have a 1966 Ford Mustang that my wife originally got in 1974. It's a driver that doesn't get driven enough. I've been lucky over the years to not have massive repair bills, but I've always been concerned about being overcharged and whether the work being done is by capable mechanics and shops, or maybe I just expect better customer service or better service overall. I prefer to have someone close since when something must be done, it always needs overnight or multiple days in a shop. Again, is it normal or can service be better? It's hard with a classic car. I was talking to my neighbor. My neighbor has I think it's a 64 Fairlane. And he had the engine rebuilt. And he brought it to a shop to have the engine installed. And it's the same person who took the engine out. But not the person who sent it out. He sent the engine out on his own to get rebuilt. And I said to him the other day, I was helping him do some work around the house, and I said to him, when are you getting your car back? And he says, it hasn't moved. He says, it's still sitting there in the same spot I had it towed to. And I said, oh, that's concerning. And he said, yeah. He said, and I said, back in the old days when shops had plenty of help, doing this kind of work, unless you were somebody who specialized in old cars, and there are those shops out there that specialize in old cars, but unless you were somebody who did that, this kind of work was sort of fill-in work. The daily brakes, oil changes, tune-ups, shocks, struts, timing belts, oil leaks, stuff like that. Those were the day-to-day jobs that came in, and when it got slow, you would take on this engine swap in an old car, because realistically the work is relatively easy. I mean, you open the hood of an old car, you got plenty of room to maneuver around in there, and especially if you're putting the old engine back in that's just been rebuilt, there's no modification necessary. You're just dropping it in and getting it done. So the idea that they haven't moved on it, a little bit concerning, but chances are they're probably busy with the day-to-day work. It would be nice to go back to them and say, hey, look, I told you I wasn't really in a big hurry because it is just going to be an extra fun car for me. But maybe by the end of the summer, it might be nice if I could start to think about, the other work that needs to be done besides having the engine and transmission installed. So it would be nice to have it drivable where I can start to look at things like headlights and taillights and other stuff. So, is it bad service? Probably not, but it's probably more sort of misunderstood of what work can be done and what work couldn't. So it's, this 66 Mustang, great car, relatively simple to repair, tons of available parts. You can get Mustang parts all day long, easy to get. But I suspect that it may just be a matter of, people aren't working on those cars every day because they haven't scheduled them into their regular work schedule. And let's face it, like you pointed out in your email to me, it's a driver that doesn't get driven enough. So even though it's not, a 100%, 100-point classic car, it is a car you drive, but you don't drive it often enough. So there you go. So why don't we take another break? When we come back, maybe we will just do a random, this number of calls, 95, the 95th caller. We're not really going to do the 95th caller, but can get a 3-pack of bling sauce. So the cleaner, the interior, the leather cleaner, and the trim cleaner. And again, it's a product that I like, and I started to use it because I like it. And there are certain products that I will use, like the bling sauce is one. Meguiar's has a wash and wax that I've used, especially in areas where there's water shortages. When I'm back up north, a couple of years ago, you couldn't water your grass, and outside watering was kind of prohibited. So using a waterless car wash, providing the car wasn't ridiculously dirty, covered with mud, it was a good product to be able to use, and I use that pretty regularly as well. If my car looks dusty or dirty, rain spots and stuff, I'll use the McGuire's Wash and Wax. But when I'm done with it, now I use the Bling Sauce to give it that little extra shine. In fact, somebody called me the other day. They were doing an article and said, "What do you use?" And I said, "Well, this is the wax I use. This is what I use, and I just started using this stuff." And I sent him a picture of the black Volkswagen we have with a very shiny reflection of me taking the picture. So, pretty shiny stuff. I like it. Why don't we take a break? You're listening to 95.9 WATD, your South Shore's radio station. When we come back, be your chance to try to win some Bling Sauce.
AAA is with you at every moment in your life. They have 24-hour 7 roadside assistance, which covers you in any car you're driving or riding in, even a rental or your friend's wheels. They have great member rates on home and auto insurance, savings on travel, hotels, and rental cars, and discounts on hundreds of your favorite brands. You're covered on and off the road. Learn more at aaa.com/join.
Start your Sunday off right with brunch at the Old Hitching Post in Hanson. The Old Hitching Post offers a full buffet brunch every Sunday from 10 to 1. Fill up on all your favorites like eggs and bacon, sausage, home fries, French toast casserole, mac and cheese, homemade hash, fresh seafood, rice, veggies, fresh fruit, quiche, yogurt parfaits, pastries, ham, omelets, eggs Benedict, and more. The Old Hitching Post Sunday brunch from 10 to 1 at 48 Spring Street, Route 58 in Hanson. Online at oldhp.com. That's oldehp.com.
Hey there, folks. It's Quinn Kelly reminding you to tune in Sunday night at 5 for the South Shore's first voice in sports talk radio, The Sports Exchange. Unmatched coverage of local high school action as well as a relatable voice on all things Boston Pro Sports. We've got you covered live at 5 every Sunday night. Have a question for our host, missed last week's show, or just want to share a great sports story? You can find us on Twitter at SE on WATD. But remember, mark your calendar, folks, and we'll see you Sunday night at 5 for the Sports Exchange on 95.9 WATD.
Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program. I understand that we have a caller on the line. Is that true there, Mr. Jesse?
We have a few. We have a few. We'll start with Tom from Weymouth.
All right. And also, because do we have lines open still?
We don't. We have 3 callers on the line.
Okay, all right. So maybe we're going to have to hold off and do this next weekend. But let's talk to Tom in Weymouth first. Tom, good morning. Hello. I know you're there, but we have to wait the 7 seconds for the delay because you're probably listening on the radio. Tom? Hello?
Tom has been there for a while, so maybe Tom's gone. We'll put Tom back on hold. Let's go to Dick from Plymouth.
Let's talk to Dick in Plymouth. Good morning, Dick. I see none of the phones are working. There we go.
No, John.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
I tell everybody about the electric cars. You mentioned years ago that they have a regular battery in it, like we do in our cars. And everybody asks me, what does that battery do? And I have no answer for them because I don't know. Is that to start it up or keep the equipment?
It turns the electronics on in the car. And everything but that new Tesla Cybertruck. There's still 12-volt batteries. Some of them are little small 12-volt batteries. Even the hybrids like a Prius has a small 12-volt battery. And what it does when you get in the car and you push the start button, that 12-volt battery turns all that stuff on. So it is possible, and I don't care if it's a Tesla or a Prius, you can have a dead battery and the car won't go because the gauges and stuff don't turn on, and the push button, the key, whatever the case is, won't work because that 12-volt battery is dead and it doesn't turn the other stuff on to say, hey, look, we can start.
Okay. And another thing about the Shell Utility, I have classic cars. I've been using Shell Utility in my cars for 22 years because it has the heavy metals like zinc in it. You don't have to use the zinc additives.
So, I think I wrote in an answer to somebody. It's got all the vitamins and minerals your old car needs, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
The older cars you need zinc for the camshaft.
Right. And throw in a little extra vitamin C and D too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's I've been using that for 22 years.
And it's worked out good for you.
Yep. No problems.
All right. Hey, thanks for calling in.
Thank you,
All right.
John.
All right.
Thank you,
Take care. Yep. Bye-bye. Jesse, where to now?
Let's go to Tom from Pembroke.
Let's talk to Tom. Tom, good morning.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey, good morning, John.
Good morning.
I have a question on a 23 Subaru Forester.
A 23?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, believe it or not. I bought a new car hoping it would be better, but the fobs, both of them, the push to start.
Yeah.
Even though the key is right near me, and I've tried both keys, I've been told 1,000 times to check the batteries in them. I mean, one of them was never even used, and it's still the same thing. I have to put the fob directly on the start button for it to start.
Yeah, that is a classic, idea that's got a dead battery in it. So that's what usually goes. Have you actually checked the battery in it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it works for locking and unlocking an alarm and rear tailgate, and I did put a brand new Energizer battery in one of them, and after this started, so it's not the programming or anything. I mean, all I can think of is the receiver for that.
Yeah, and that's, the antenna for that is, part of that. The idea that you're able to unlock the doors tells you that, the battery and the fob is working the way it should. And it sounds like they got to do some work with the antenna system inside the car. There's like something shielding it. The one thing that I have seen weird, and this was a couple of years ago, somebody had their toll transponder, and they would have it sitting in a cup holder, and they'd stick it up on the windshield when they used it. And what happened was it wouldn't work when that was there. They put it in the glove compartment, and all of a sudden it worked. You don't have anything like that, right?
I did, and I took that out thinking that also.
Yeah.
100 feet away from the car, and I checked both fobs, factory fobs. The other thing that won't work is the keyless entry. When you come near the car and supposed to pull up on the handle.
Yep.
That won't work. The keyless unlock.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like the key fob has a little tiny transmitter signal in it. And, and it sounds like the receiver part isn't doing its job anymore. So there's the various components that make all of that work. And, what they're going to need to do is they're going to need to look at, there's I think 1, 2, 3, there's a separate antenna for almost anything. There's a rear gate antenna. There's a center antenna, there's a front antenna, there's a rear antenna, and there's even an antenna in the driver and passenger door handle. And they all go through the same, keyless access system. And, when you push that button, it, works off all of those different antennas. So it sounds like somewhere in there's a communication issue to the steering lock or the push button ignition switch or whatever the case is, because they all run through the same what they call a CAN bus network. So so it sounds like somewhere in there's a problem, and unfortunately, it isn't just going to be as simple as here's what we can look at. And kind of thing. So the idea that, for them to say, oh, it's a bad push button. No, it's not a bad push button. There's more involved in it because it is working on some stuff. So, So.
And I have separated the two, and tried one at a time, and everything I think of,
Yeah. There's actually, Subaru has certain tools dedicated to just making this thing work, and and I think at this point, you need to figure out, they need to figure out what's going on. So there is this whole, they can check for codes because there's codes for everything. But I'm willing to bet it's in that CAN and LAN network system that there's something going on in there, and it's more than just a fuse that blew, but it could be. There could actually be a bad fuse in there.
Yeah. I don't know why I haven't messed with anything, but
while we're talking, I tried to quickly look at the repair diagrams, and some of the stuff are check the harness, check the ground, check the harness, check the ground, and there's about 10 different places that could affect how that push button start works. So I think it's going to be a matter of someone just needs to spend more time on there to try to figure out what it is. Okay.
At least you said something different. I get so tired of hearing check the fob battery,
Yeah, no, it's not. If it was a fob battery, you wouldn't be able to open the tailgate.
Yeah.
You would
at the same time.
Yeah, you would have to. If it was a low fob battery, maybe you could put the fob up against the door handle. That might be enough to pop the door lock because there's that antenna right there. But I think there's an issue with the antenna or in that wiring connection to the push button start, and it's not the fob. It's the car.
Yep. All right, it's that point at Subaru now. I'll let you know.
All right, good enough. All right, take care. Yep, bye-bye. Well, I don't think we have enough time left over to do much more for today. But one thing I would like to do is, as everybody gathers with family and friends for Memorial Day, let's remember the true meaning of the day and honor the men and women who have sacrificed their lives to service in the service of our country. We deeply are grateful for them and the freedoms we enjoy because of their bravery. So until next week, make sure you wear your seatbelt, drive safely, be good to your car, and if you see an emergency vehicle by the side of the road, slow down or move over. It saves lives. Talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.